If your ad looks too much like an ad, people are just going to keep scrolling. Everyone's become so much more aware, audience persona work, audience intentions. When you're producing not only like the creative on its own, but the initial concept, you need to be thinking about, right, who is this actually for? And thinking about like the messaging themes that you carry throughout your creatives, and not just putting yourself into one lane, because that's when your growth will just plateau completely, if not dip. Now, your creative needs to speak directly to a specific audience persona.
Volume's been something that's just been changing constantly, like for the past 12 months especially, and I feel like you can never have enough, but I think, this just really helps.
The Creative Volume Calculator, I built this off of the back of Motion's 2026 benchmarks report. This is pulling from like millions of dollars of ad spend, and essentially you can just tie in your monthly ad spend. It'll calculate exactly how many concepts you need for the month, and then exactly how many variants that need to live within those concepts.
The rise of native content.
Yeah, you want to disrupt their feed by essentially blending into their feed. So
what do you think the trade-off is at the moment for people who are too worried about perfection, and then that's going to then hinder volume?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think...
So welcome back to episode 3 of The Growth Files. I'm joined today by Jonah, who's a core member of our creative team. Do you want to give yourself a bit of an introduction?
Yeah, quick intro from me. Jonah, creative strategist here at Prospa. I've been here for coming up to 2 years, which is pretty crazy to think about. But buzzing to be on the pod. I think it's something we've been talking about literally like since my first interview. I feel like you mentioned it, and it's like we're here now.
We were doing like podcast clips for probably 3 years now.
Yeah.
I think, we're finally. I mean, we've had this studio for a year.
Yeah.
We've only just started doing everything. But no, really excited to have you on. Obviously, creative's such a big part of what we do now, and such a big part of ecom. So, and I think it'd be good to sort of go back really to the start. Obviously, again, you've been here 2 years, it feels like. A lot longer than that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So much has happened. But go back to sort of when you started at Prospa. Obviously, you joined as a junior, paid social exec. And obviously now you've progressed to being a creative strategist. But like, take us through that sort of journey.
Came fresh out of uni basically. Had a pretty good idea of like what I wanted to do. I know like creative and content work has always been something that I've been passionate about. Like I built my own brand during uni, which was like in the events industry. So I think creative ties really nicely into like what I'm passionate about with like music, and also like all the brand building stuff that I did with my events, like Brand That's That. And then I think it was just like trying to like put myself out there after uni. I think it can be quite easy to just get like stuck and hung up on like rejection as well. But came across Prospa, had a really good call with you, and now we're here.
It's quite daunting, isn't it? I think when you leave uni, you don't really know what to do.
Yeah.
And I think especially now, there's so much noise. Isn't there? No, that's it. And I think what we want to talk about today is obviously paid social. We started as a Facebook ads agency. Obviously, we do a lot more than that now, but it's still the core of the business. Really, it's the biggest team. We've got the most clients on there.
Yeah,
pretty much. I'd say from a spend perspective, we've probably got 70% of our whole media spend going towards Meta as well. So I think it'd be good to get right into that today. And I think
100%.
Obviously, you've been in paid social from like literally like when you were green, up to like now, fresh out of uni. So you've seen it. That's your first sort of experience in anything has been paid social. So how do you think it's sort of changed? If we look at the last 6 months, that's been the most like concentrated time frame of change. How would you say it has?
I think, I mean, for me, it's been perfect. It was like a perfect time to come into paid social because everything now is like creative. Like I feel like there's only so much work you can do with like the minor like details and tweaks in terms of like audience work, and obviously like they do make a big impact, but so much of the impact you have is like through creative now. You can make your creative like speak directly to the audience that you want it to. I think with like obviously the Andromeda update as well, like creative has just become everything to the brands, and it should be like at the forefront of every brand that we work with's mind.
And I think if you go, because when you joined us, obviously you're running accounts, doing sort of everything as an exec would do. And then slowly there was elements. I mean, even in your first week, you were
Yeah.
sort of designing
Yeah.
creatives, right? Because
Yeah.
we didn't have the biggest creative team then, which is crazy because in 2 years we've now, like,
Yeah.
I see us as being a creative agency. Really.
Yeah.
But from like that perspective, so from Andromeda coming in, really we felt it probably from December, haven't we?
Yeah.
2025.
I think so, yeah.
How has that changed, like, everyone's approach at Prospa to actually running accounts?
I think obviously we use Motion. It's like one of the key like resources and tools that we have available. Everyone's become so much more aware of like audience persona work, and before your creative could be fairly broad and you could try and like do a scattered approach and speak to a lot of people and it might catch a few people's interest, but now your creative needs to speak directly to a specific audience persona, and the audience needs to feel like, right, this creative is actually like made for me. And I feel like there's also a lot of terrible creative out there as well, and I think it's about like striking the balance, whether it looks like too addy, if it's like more platform native, if it's just like purely AI slot. But yeah, I think everyone's becoming a lot more aware of like the audience persona work, and I think like audience intentions, and making sure that when you're producing not only like the creative on its own but the initial concept, you need to be thinking about, right, who is this actually for, and thinking about like the messaging themes that you carry throughout your creatives, and not just like putting yourself into one lane, because you're just gonna like that's when your growth will just plateau completely, if not dip, because like your core ICP just aren't that interested anymore.
When we audit brands as well, and obviously Motion is probably the closest thing to Andromeda that is out there. It's very like interesting to see how much wasted spend is actually just going to no audiences. When we take on a new brand, there's often like sometimes 50% of their monthly budget is actually just being scattered, like you said. I think we were speaking earlier before this, there's some like easy tactics brands can use to understand their personas. One is obviously scraping reviews. Do you want to go through a little bit around how you guys
so I mean, this is another thing that like before we were doing like fairly manually. Like you probably remember the initial like onboarding hub. It would be a case of like looking through the Trustpilot reviews or like FIFA, whatever they're on, looking for like any press features or anything like that. A
lot of reviews.
But thankfully that process is like pretty automated now, and using tools like Claude. We've built skills within that where you can just do /skill and then it will scrape everything. So it's like a review scraper essentially, and you'll say like, I'm working on this brand, scrape everything about it, from reviews to different talking points and discussion points within their like sector. You can go into like little Reddit groups as well, look through their comments on Instagram, and it'll be done within like 10 minutes.
There's so many pockets. I think Reddit's like an underrated area.
100%.
People speaking so passionately. Like
100%, yeah.
About things.
If they're going out of their way to talk about it on a platform, like that's a pretty good indicator of what the pain points are. So yeah, we use that for initial auditing of creative, but then also strategy going forward, any analysis like for new testing as well, or if we want to try and tap into new audiences. But yeah, using these scraping tools allows us to find these new pockets of audience personas that we can speak to directly through our creative work, and make sure that we're addressing those pain points, because a lot of reviews will be like talking really positively about the product, but like we want to know like the negative side of it, and then also like what people are just saying within the industry as well. Like one of the bits we looked at for Odd Company, which like pain points everything for them for such a like high value product. Like people have to be really invested in like the creative.
But it's not an impulse buy.
No, it's not. You have to build that consideration for them. So we were like digging through Reddit. This was like actually a bit of manual work, to be fair. One of the key like discussion points was about memory foam mattresses and why people had moved away from memory foam to pocket sprung. And it was like older 65 plus audiences talking about the impact that it was having on their back, and how they literally couldn't get out of bed. And that right there, that is your pain point. So we just took that and ran with it, and that literally is like our winning audience persona now. So yeah, it's like finding little pockets like that, and like obviously like Claude is really useful for doing it, but there's also like elements of like manual creative strategy that you need to implement too.
Nice, but you never thought you'd know so much about
mattresses.
Mattress.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm fully educated now.
You've got to be as well. I think that's when you can get right into a pain point, and then craft personas. If you get 100%. Right into it and you understand it yourself. And
I think also just like understanding the brand, understanding like when we went to visit Andrew and Charlotte at the Odd Company, like I really love the fact that we do that and build like the client relationships by going to see like what's going on in the production line in the factory, and finding out from Andrew directly what the story is, and like that's exactly what we did with Mystery Football as well. But
yeah, I think blogs as well are also something people don't think about enough, because I think if you're in a very sort of niche industry, blogs can be a really good way of sort of getting into the mindset of a consumer or of the brand as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, again, they're very sort of detailed around a specific topic. So I think as many sources really as you can.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like it's also interesting when a new brand comes on, what their perspective of their like key audience is, and like quite often that won't be like what actually works that well. So yeah, they'll have like the core one which might have like allowed them to grow for however long, but there's so many like little niche ones that you can tap into. Like we did a lot of it for One Ski, where one of the key audiences we looked to tap into was first time skiers, and that just like absolutely flew and opened, like, because you can go like broadly just directly to skiers, but it's already obvious like who it's for, because contextually the content's like literally just skiing stuff. But I think when you go a bit more niche and find those like specific audience pain points, you're on for a winner.
And I think that takes us quite nicely into sort of different processes and models that you've been working on at the moment. Obviously coming into this sort of focus role around creative, there's been sort of, I suppose, gaps that you've identified in our process this year. I think we've been progressively just making more and better content over the past 2 years, but I think one thing that would be interesting to talk about is sort of the creative planning side and sort of almost forecasting.
100%.
Because you built something amazing for that, which we'll sort of share around this video so people can download it. But if you can sort of take us through, what that is.
So I think the first like key thing that I built was the Creative Volume Calculator. So I built this off of the back of Motion's 2026 benchmarks report, and essentially you can just tie in your monthly ad spend, and it will calculate exactly how many concepts you need for the month, and then exactly how many variants that need to live within those concepts. So, and it'll also tell you exactly like which bank you live in, like what size of brand you are based on the benchmarks report as well. So this is pulling from like millions of dollars of ad spend, and it's completely like current as well. So so I basically compared what it says on the benchmarks report. It was like the top 25% of spenders, and then like the average, and then making sure that you're sitting at least close to the average, and you want to be striving to basically beyond that as well. But this kind of ties into the planning element, because it means we know exactly how much creative concepts and then also variants you're going to need to hit those key wins basically. Then off the back of the volume calculator, that allows us to really like strategize and plan ahead and make sure that we're not just being like mega reactive all the time and just like completely all over the place. So I basically built this framework which ties into the Andromeda update, and also what I was just talking about. So essentially you have like the core concept. You have this like core overarching concept, and then within that you have your intended audiences. So your overarching concept could be like, it could be the format. So you want to do, the overarching theme of it is basically grid collage, or it's like platform native, and you can do, then you have your intended audiences which live within the concept. So you want to talk to say bodybuilders, or you want to speak to female athletes, or you want to speak to the everyday gym goer. So you have your core concept, and then you have your key audiences, and they can also all be the same as well. And the theme could also just be the audience too. It's basically just the fixed variable that stays, and everything else below that changes. And then once you've got your intended audience, then you have your variant. So that could be, often that'll be the format. So that could be like split screen, or that could be comment response, or that could be like a tweet overlay. But yeah, most of the time the concept will be like the key message you want to get across. So that might be like promotional message, or that might be like designed to stand out, or something like that. Just like the overarching message that you want to get across, and that's the thing that like stays. And then within that you have all the different things that change. And from that I've been able to plan all of the brand's content, and you know exactly how many variants you need within those concepts. So yeah, pretty pleased with that.
That's amazing. And I think like volume's been something that's just been changing constantly, like for the past 12 months especially. And I think it's, you know, sometimes feel like you can never have enough, but I think, yeah, this just really helps guide us with it.
Yeah.
You can plan your resource just so much.
100%. And you can, I think like, because we have such a good design team, you don't want to be like too reactive, and you want to make sure the quality is there. And if you've planned it, you can stagger it across like weeks as well. So it's not just like loads all at once, and the volume is there, but also the quality is also there too, because they've got the time to do it.
What do you think the opportunity cost is at the moment of like you said, we've got such a good design team, everything is very, everything is assessed for quality before it goes out. What do you think the trade-off is at the moment for people who are too worried about perfection, and then that's going to then hinder volume?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a balance. It's an interesting question. I think like it's more relevant as well with like AI capabilities now.
Because that's allowing...
Yeah, it allows a lot of like smaller brands with like a smaller budget. Like so many are growing rapidly in the e-com, like D2C industry. But I think it's definitely just like about a balance between like quality, ensuring the quality is there, but like when brands are like too strict with like their guidelines, that's when it becomes difficult, and that's when you get left behind basically. So if we're sending over a creative and then you're getting feedback like 3 or 4 times, that's when it becomes difficult. But the brands that work best with us are extremely open-minded to everything that we do.
Give us the freedom.
Yeah, they just give us the freedom, and they're the ones which will grow like really quickly.
It's definitely been a theme with newer brands this year that we've worked with around, again, them being too protective, which I understand, I completely get, but then the way that everything is changing, like we need to be
the trust.
diverse, we need to be a bit freer and looser with what we're doing, and it's never there to damage brand, it's there to grow it. But I think people got to ask that question: do they just want to always be perfect, or do they want, you know, quicker growth? It's that trade-off, isn't it?
100%. I think like without even realizing, and by being too protected of brand, they can be putting themselves into like too close of one single lane, when there's so much more opportunity out there just by diversifying their creative and moving beyond like really simple plain brand creative and like diversifying into a more platform native concepts or
well, that's I think that takes us into that next point around the rise of native content. And you said, I won't steal your soundbite because it's great. My point was, you want to disrupt their feed by essentially blending into their feed. So you don't want your ad to look too much like an ad, basically. If your ad looks too much like an ad, people are just going to keep scrolling. I think it's also a balance between like making really scroll stopping, bright visually and bold creative, and then also making the content that people are looking at, they're like, oh,
I didn't even realise I was looking at an ad because it looks like something that would just appear on my feed. And I think this is where like partnership ads and whitelisting tie really nicely into this, and like UGC making a bit of like a comeback as well, because I feel like it peaked maybe like a couple of years ago and then like sort of plateaued a little bit, and then partnership ads got introduced and it like suddenly has like so much more value for opening doors for new audiences. But yeah, for platform native content, you basically want to like, it's making your content look like organic, something that you would see on your feed essentially. So this could be like comment reply videos, this could be like story response statics, this could be literally just like story overlays and like long form copy. It looks really ugly, but honestly when it's like platform native, it works like insanely well. We had this one creative for Swole Panda and it was just like driving so much volume, but it was like the ugliest thing you've ever seen. And I think like that's something that's talked about quite a lot in like the motion creative strategy side. There's like this one, I can't remember his name, I think it's like Barry. He's like a massive advocate for like ugly ads. And like, and I think that kind of ties into like the organic side too. So you can be like, and also what you were saying about like brands being too protective of like brand and making sure everything's perfect. You need to have like diversity across the account, otherwise you're just going to become like stagnant basically.
100%. And I think going into whitelisting partnership ads further, like Vanquish Fitness, one of our brands, we've been working with them for getting on for about a year. Partnership ads have been the driver, haven't they? They get a lot of affiliate content.
So they have like an athlete bank, basically, a group of athletes that are either on retainers or they have like contracts to work with them, and they send them clothes. So basically we saw that like the rise in partnership ads, and we were like, why are we not doing this for Vanquish? And using that honestly has been like an absolute game changer. Like that has been the core driver creatively. That saw us through Black Friday completely. Like, and we were writing briefs that were completely specific to like promotional and Black Friday too. So we've like built a really close relationship with Vanquish's internal team, where like I'll catch up bi-weekly with them and send over direct briefs of like what's working and what's not, and then which creators are also performing the best too. And now we've got a really good group of creators which like will request content from them first. But I think for brands that are struggling with new customer growth, like partnership ads, whitelisting, whatever you want to call it, like that is a no-brainer, because you're opening so many more opportunities to new audiences coming in who might not have actually seen your brand before. They're just aware of the creator, or even if they're not aware of the creator, it's that level of trust because it's coming from a real person and it's not just like coming from a brand that they've never heard of.
Well, it ties into that native side. I was looking actually yesterday, and for Vanquish we increased creative output by over 200%. That led to a 174% increase year to date in contribution margin. So you can see, and again, a lot of that increase in creative output has been centralised around partnership ads, hasn't it? So it just shows that, again, tying back to native, none of the, from what I've seen through looking through our sort of assets, like a lot of the partnership ads as well aren't, again,
they're not like really brushed up. No, not at all. The way I went into it when I like sat down with their creative director, if we make it too scripted and it's just not going to work, like these creators already have a style of production and like they know what works for their audience and like how they've grown, so let them do it in their style completely. They're like, none of it looks like too similar, because they've all got like their own specific niche of and style of content. So I think it's important to to an extent allow them to have like the freedom for what to produce and the way to do it,
because all of their athletes, I love that they call them that as well, they are customers, aren't they, as well? Which you can tell. I think people can it's very clear now when someone actually isn't an advocate.
100%.
So like all that content is actually them using the products as you would want a customer to. So it brings it goes further into that native aspect as well.
100%. Yeah, they see it and they're like immediately relate to the person.
That relatability.
Yeah, 100% is that relatability. This was something we were like talking through yesterday with Mystery Football. I just wanted to get a bit of like a background on like what his actual story was and the founder story. And I think founder content, and it's something we've seen with Swole Panda, literally you put those two boys' face on any content and it just like flies because their audience relate to them so much. Like they made the brand because they love it. And like Mystery Football is like initially started as like a passion project out of his mum's like spare bedroom. And he's completely a football fan. So if we put him front and center and tell the story of how that Mystery Football was made, audiences are going to relate to that completely and like invest their time and money into it too. So
going back to sort of AI, you've really been spearheading a lot of things around AI, not just from a production perspective, but like workflow perspective as well. I think it'd be good to get an insight into sort of what you've been doing and sort of any advice on how to approach it at the moment, because it's very it's overwhelming, isn't it?
I think that's one of like the key things over the past like basically since the start of the year. Like AI, the influx of it has been pretty crazy, and like part of my role as creative strategist has been to like try and carry that forward and see ways we can implement that into Prospa. And it's easy to be like overwhelmed by it because there's just so much out there, and like you're constantly getting battered by like on my feed is like a new platform which is doing this, another platform which is doing this, but essentially they're kind of like all the same pretty much. A lot of them do like the same thing. They're just like acting as a server for different AI capabilities. So they'll have like Nano Banana Pro, which is probably the best image production tool. There's like Sora Pro 2, which is probably like the best like face to cam video content tool. There's also like Kling Motion. Like I've basically with this new role, I've had time to test out everything and like really gain an understanding of like what's good for what, and I've been building the perfect workflows and looking at ways we can implement this like into our brands at Prospa so we can streamline these processes. So I've been building these workflows on Crea. They're called nodes. I know I showed you one of them before. It's like talking head UGC, face to camera content. That's like sorted, perfect. We can use that. And then also, I was a bit cautious of like doing this, but product in hand content with Dance Pro, I believe it's called Dance. It's like the video AI tool. Using that, like we've been able to actually get product in hand featured in the UGC videos too. So I've built like a really nice workflow for us to use across our brands, and it should really help with like streamlining processes too. So I've also just been trying to like make sure that everyone can use it as well, because like it's another way, like it's overwhelming when you come onto a new platform. You're like, I don't know anything, but I think it's also important to remember like it's new for everyone else too. So like what I was saying to you earlier, as tough as it might seem right now, like the learning process, and it feels like a little bit like you're shooting in the dark, and it's a little bit overwhelming because like no one's really training you, you're learning it on the job. You're going to be setting yourself so much further apart like in 3 months' time, because AI just moves on rapidly. And the basic learning that you're putting in place now, you'll have so much more knowledge than you realize when it comes to 3 months' time, and it's just like developed even further. So I feel like we've found like a few really good tools. Like we use Kive, Kive.ai for product on body content, and it gets the product detail perfectly. And then Artlist is a really good one for like video production. And then as I mentioned, Crea I've been using a lot, building like these little nodes where you can just connect different features together.
It's crazy.
But like well, I was doing this like training course, and they were talking about how AI can be overwhelming, but when you like strip it back to basics, like AI is basically just like text code. All it is just text, and then it text into output. Like you let it do the heavy lifting and get your prompt writing right, and you're gonna be like onto a winner basically. But yeah, we're integrating it into the workflow, and like even where we're at right now is going to be completely different in like a few months' time.
We could probably sit down again this time next week. And
literally.
And another brand that you've heavily sort of spearheaded creative with from the get-go, really, since you came in, obviously again running the account and then transitioning into sort of what you're doing now, has been OG Kicks. We've seen some incredible growth again for those guys. Just some figures again. When I was looking into this the other day, 250% revenue increase with a 35% decrease in CAC over the past sort of 12 months, which is incredible. And again, Meta Creative has really spearheaded
100%,
that. What have you been doing within that account?
I mean, I think from the get-go it was clear they were kind of undervaluing creative. So I was looking at that and I was like, let's go.
Is there like a really aesthetic brand?
100%,
The sells sick, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think that they're a really good example of like, they just let us like crack on. Yeah. Like we've got to a level of trust with them now where they're just completely open, and we've got the results to prove it basically. But yeah, for them it's been a mix of, and like AI was really important from the get-go from them, because they weren't really giving us like any content initially, and we were using AI capabilities to produce like product images and get product in context, and we were talking about specific pain points even like a year ago too. So like value proposition is a massive thing for their audience. You want to make sure like the offer is front and central. Price does a lot of the heavy lifting for fashion brands. So I mean, I think people like overlook how important it is to just like have the price of a product on there, because that immediately sets your audience apart. You have that intention already. And then also, as we diversified even further, I worked with them really closely to produce this content like deliverables, which is something I've been pushing to all of our brands. So we basically put together a quarterly content like deliverables roadmap, and it'll say the title of the content and exactly what we want from them, and then a direct reference for the format as well, so they know exactly what to produce. And then there's like priority levels on there too, and then an ideal date for them to produce it too. So yeah, worked with them really closely on that, and they got that content back to us. And once we got product in hand content, game changer, because it just brought in that like level of like actual realness. And then also
just stock.
And then also like Ryan too, like I was talking about the founder stuff and founder content. Yeah, we actually put Ryan's face in front of the camera. We were like, get Ryan to do some face to camera content, and that has been absolutely flying as well. Like
they've got a store as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it Knightsbridge?
Yeah. They've got a store in the centre of London, and we were like, why are we not like making the most of this? Like
it's quite well known as well. Like it's like a popular spot, isn't it? Especially for like I think I remember saying like a lot of tourists come. But again, like you said, it's another asset.
Yeah,
it's bringing that. It's just another layer and sort of like it's level of social proof, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like also just putting a bit of like personality behind a brand, which was like previously just like completely no face or anything, and their core audience is basically Ryan too, so like that ties into that level of like relatability that the founder content brings in. But yeah, I think it's just like the level of diversity that we've been able to bring into the account has meant that the growth has just never slowed down at all. And then also Confect as well. That's been huge, not only for OG Kicks, but yeah, Confect has been a game changer for pretty much, well, every brand that we've implemented it for. And I'm really proud of like the partnership that we've built with them too.
Again, you brought that in, so fair play. It's come a long way, isn't it? So
yeah, it has. I remember the first like call we had with them too, and like, yeah, we need to get this.
Straight away, wasn't it? It was like 2 minutes in.
Yeah.
That's been because a lot of what it's from a fashion perspective as well, it's heavily DPA, especially people like Moda, OG Kicks. What would you like? What percentage of spend do you reckon goes to?
Ooh, for fashion, probably like 50%, to be honest. Yeah, and like it allows you to have that creative capability that just blank DPAs just literally wouldn't let you have. So
shy,
but yeah, we've talked so much about Confect, but there's so many opportunities that it opens from a creative standpoint, and it allows you to diversify even further in your account and actually put like a brand at the front of your creatives for DPA. So
well, you're still benefiting from the power of the dynamic aspect.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and I guess a DPA is another, like you said, it's another channel of diversification. But Confect allows you to then diversify that even further, doesn't it? Yeah. So it's been a staple. I mean, every brand is literally on it. I see a free trial come through. There's this kind of like every week. But yeah, thank you for listening. Everything that we spoke about today will be sort of linked around this video. And yeah, stay tuned for up and coming episodes. We've got some really exciting guests coming on, people within the team, some really exciting brands. So looking forward to sort of carrying on